WWF In Your House Canadian Stampede 1997. I'm telling you right now, if you're a fan of the Canadian national anthem, you might as well just turn this bad boy off now because you're not going to be happy. But on the wrestling side of things, I was happy, and I'm sure you'll be happy too, hearing us talk about it. We got a fun 10-man tag in the main events. We got Undertaker defending the title. This episode is just lousy with lore. I mean, it is just brimming with backstory and lore and foreskin. There's a lot of foreskin talk on this one, arguably too much, but let's just get right into it, shall we? It's the Apron Bump Podcast.
It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock this. Let's get started.
What's up, everybody? What the gosh darn heck is up, everybody? Welcome to the Apron Bump Podcast. I am your host, the hardest part of the ring, Kyle. Got something in my eye. The Stampede noise. Am I yelling? I feel like I'm yelling already. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everyone. Welcome to the Apron Bump. Did I already welcome you guys? I forget. Oh, jeez. What an episode we got in our hands today. Canadian Stampede. 1997. Produced by the World Wrestling Federation. What a program we got in our hands today. Like I mentioned, we got a 10-man tag. I would say a famous, legendary 10-man tag in the main event. Because as per the name of the show, we are in Canada. And we got Team Canada, not Petey Williams, not A1. We got the Hart Foundation taking on Team USA. Who is comprised of these teams? Well, we'll get into it. Don't you worry. We'll talk about if the teams made sense, if we would have slotted some people out with certain people. We'll get into all of it. Speaking of things we're going to get into, we got the WWE title on the line. Undertaker versus Vader. And just on paper, you look at that and you're like, not a lot to talk about there. You know, I mean, it's probably okay, but like, not too much to unpack. But you would be wrong. Hypothetical listener, you would be wrong because, for one, Vader is present in this match due to very not nefarious, just a series of unfortunate events has led to Vader being in the spot, all tied to the new Nation of Domination. One member of this nation was supposed to be the challenger for the Undertaker, but they were unable to. Again, we'll get more into it. But on the other side of the coin, the champion side, the Undertaker. Guess where we're at, everybody? Guess where we are at in the timeline. Paul Bearer unveiled a secret about Undertaker's past. And there might be skeletons in his closet. A big red skeleton, maybe, perhaps. Thoughts? We get probably way too deep into the lore, but it's a fun one. It's a fun piece of business to get into. We got Triple H and Mankind continuing their rivalry. What else? There's some other stuff. There's a lot of wackiness on the show. Speaking of wacky, got my wacky pal, Matt, from the Smackin It Raw podcast, returning to the show. Always a jolly good time with my boy Matthew. Go check out Creatia World, which is the umbrella in which all of his stuff falls under. We got the Smackin It Raw podcast, which is a weekly podcast. Him, Katie, who was just on 2 weeks ago, I believe, at this point. Vince Delgado, previous guest. The Smackin It Raw crew and various guests they have, they talk about the week of wrestling. They put their own tawdry spin on things. And it's always a good time getting that live chat. It's always a fun time interacting with those guys. As the show is happening, it's also a fun time listening and or watching after the fact. So listen to the Smackin It Raw podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, as well as YouTube, all that stuff. If you like horror, check out Getting Offed which they pretty much do the same thing, but they touch on a certain horror movie franchise, Pornhub remake, which sounds like a joke, but it's something they've done before. So if you like horror, or if you just like having a good time, go check out Matt and all of his various things that he does. Check out me as well at Apron Bump on all the social medias. Join the Discord. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment, a like, subscribe. If you're listening on audio, rate, review, all that stuff. It all helps. Leave a comment if your podcast platform allows you to. And hey, speaking of allowing, I allow you to stay tuned to the end of this podcast, because we will close this bad boy out with the continuation of the hardest promotion battle of 1997, where we pit WWF against WCW against ECW, a tawdry triple threat. That's my word of the day, I guess. A triple threat between these three promotions, and we see which company is doing the best at this point in time in 1997. So as of early July 97, we look at the TV, the pay-per-views, the in-ring, the out-of-ring. We look at the best, the worst, the matches, all this stuff. There's a whole scoreboard, a whole system. We'll get into that at the end of the podcast. And whichever company has the most points at the end of 1997, once I continue along this journey and complete 97 for all three companies, whichever company has the most points will earn a purchase of a championship belt from yours truly, of that respective company. As you can see by the Intercontinental title behind me, WWF was hardest in 1996. Who will be hardest in 1997? Current scoreboard, just in case you're curious. WCW is currently in the lead with 29 points. ECW in second with 25. WWF with 4 points. But still about half a year to go, and changes can happen. Big swings have been known to happen. So make sure you come along this journey with me. And speaking of coming on journeys, come on me. WWF in your house. Canadian Stampede, 1997, with myself and Pretty Ritty from the Smackin It Raw podcast. I've never really taken a good look at a dog's dick. Is that just the foreskin just shooting out? Is that what the deal is?
Well, yeah, it's tucked in the foreskin, and when they get excited, it comes out.
I don't think I've ever seen a live uncircumcised dick before, so maybe that's the issue.
I have also never seen a live uncircumcised dick before. We have that in common.
Hey, I mean, it's
all the rage in Europe, from what I hear.
Apparently, I mean, well, people say it makes like sex feel better, but like, how would you know?
Yeah, how would you know by having an uncircumcised dick if your sex feels better than someone with a circumcised dick?
Right.
Unless you got like a late in life circumcision and it wasn't the same.
Yeah, you could also get it added back on, I think.
Really? But does it... If you get it added back on, does it increase the sensation again? Does it add more nerve endings? Because I've actually seen there are like protests about circumcising children, which is weird.
It is kind of weird though when you really step back and think about it.
Yeah, grown men are out there like, don't circumcise kids.
Does it feel as good? Let me just check this. Let me see what Google has to say. Whether or not foreskin restoration restores sensations to the same level as before circumcision is a complex issue with varying reports. Some individuals report. Okay, so some people say it does, some it doesn't. So
here's my thing. I don't know if I could handle increased stimulation. Like, I've got a good pace that I've set. I'm very comfortable with the amount of time that I last. But if you make it more sensitive, I'm afraid that I'm just going to shoot off a lot quicker.
That's a good point. What if you could like customize it though? You know, like a phone case. You know, you can get like your favorite sports team or just a color. Like you can just add like a little flair to your wiener.
Like put a spoiler on it.
Yeah, some exhausts. You can make it Mexican or something. I don't know. The options are endless.
like a fucking lowrider. Just, I mean,
Yeah,
I can do that with mine. Mine does that on its own.
Well, I mean, this is untapped
You gotta
content
flex the
we're
muscle a
sitting
little
on.
bit, you know?
Yeah, I mean, did make it like with the flames and everything, the
Make it bounce back and
sparkles.
forth. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, anyways, Canadian Stampede.
I dressed appropriately.
I almost do you have a cowboy hat by any chance?
I do not have a cowboy hat, unfortunately.
I do not either. I wore one for the Royal Rumble thing that we did. It was a little one, but nobody even knew it was a cowboy hat, so I figured it was a moot point to wear it. So
plus, you can't beat Jerry the King Lawler's giant cowboy hat that covered his entire face.
Okay, one of my questions is who looked the most ridiculous in a cowboy hat on? Because we had all the commentators, Jerry Lawler, JR. Well, JR always has a cowboy. He just had his
and he looked the most ridiculous, of course. JR. No,
Vince McMahon, Fink, Doc Hendricks. Who we got?
I think Jerry probably looked the most ridiculous, but the colors that Vince chose for his entire cowboy outfit were bothering me. Like it was like a purple shirt, I think, and then there was like green in the vest, and I'm like, are you trying to be the Joker? Like, what the fuck are you doing here?
It was clearly like a last minute decision. It was like, oh, God, I guess I'll put a cowboy hat on, or however he sounds. Yeah, it's a little unsettling seeing him wearing the cowboy hat and turning over to JR and be like, so what do we think about these Japanese wrestlers wrestling on this show? It's like, easy Vince.
We'll wait till we get there because I've got thoughts on Taka versus the Great Sasuke.
Sasuke? The Great Sasuke versus Michinoko?
Yeah. Which, fun fact I learned, the Great Suzuki actually started Michinoku Pro, which is one of the only major wrestling promotions outside of like mainland Japan. And then he wrestled Taka Michinoku here.
Wait, did Taka not start Michinoku Pro?
No, he didn't. As a matter of fact, I'm wondering if he got his name from the company. Because the company was founded in, I think, like 1992. I don't know when Taka started wrestling.
What does is this like how Guerrero means warrior? Like is Michinoku like a Michi? I don't know how to spell it. What does Michinoku mean? It means end of the road. Well, that's dark. Guess that's probably not dealing with that, but yeah, I guess we'll get into it when we get into it.
Yeah, no. Taka Michinoku and his faction was the end of the road for Val Venus's penis almost. But you're not there yet.
I'm familiar though.
Since we're talking about circumcisions, yeah, you know.
I mean, they maybe they just circumcised them.
Late in life circumcisions. That's why you don't fuck another man's wife.
Exactly. But you can fuck another man's heart.
Gold dust?
Hold on. I'm trying to because there's a lot of hearts. So I'm trying to think of like, is there a tie-in? You could fuck any heart and a kid will come out. No.
And
you got it.
Did you say and a kid will come out?
Yeah. Like after you fuck somebody, a kid comes out.
Not every time.
Well, I mean, it sometimes it doesn't materialize into a human being, but there's a lot of kids in my trash bin behind me. Let me tell you something else. You know what I'm saying?
In tissues, yeah, no, okay. I mean,
yeah. No, I just put it right in there.
If you consider those children.
Yeah. On my wall, on my toes. But Canadian Stampede, 1997, Matthew. What do you think of the show? What do we think of this 4-match show? Pretty modern structure of a show, but yeah, what are we thinking?
So this is the time period in wrestling where I was consuming content via VHS tapes from the video store. So shows like this, and then some of the other In Your Houses and the stuff coming up. A lot of this content, a lot of like this era Mankind, Triple H, all that, I had rented and seen and probably out of order. So it was interesting going back. I mean, it's Canadian Stampede. We know what the main event is. I remember before we even got in the whole Hart family thing at the end and all of that. So like, it was cool to revisit it, but it wasn't anything that I was like, outside of the amazing Japanese match that I cannot wait to talk about, because I love fan fiction. There was nothing that really like blew me away, but there's some stuff in here that I was like, oh yeah, it's been a while. I remember that. That's really cool. Like the Triple H Mankind feud.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, it was a fun show. I mean, it's less than 2 hours, which is nice. Very digestible show. The hot crowd pretty much all night. We got the introduction of light heavyweights. I mean, this show had a lot of good stuff. I thought, per minute, this was a pretty enjoyable show. But
were there really only 4 matches, or am I crazy?
Yeah, I mean, the Mankind Triple H brawl lasted, several segments.
The entire show, damn near. I wish it had. I wish we had just kept cutting away from whatever was going on to watch them keep fighting everywhere.
We might as well just dive balls deep into it while we're talking about it. The opening rematch of the King of the Ring finals from the previous month. We got Mankind versus the King of the Ring, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, with China, of course. Very obviously we know what this feud would become. I mean, would you throw because to me, I think Mankind is probably Triple H's best rival. I don't know if it's the other way around. Where do you stand on that as far as their rivalry?
I honestly don't even know if Mankind is Triple H's best rival, because he also had a very similar situation with The Rock that started over the Intercontinental title here coming up, and then that evolved into main event feuds and stuff down the road. So Triple H has, and then obviously the Shawn Michaels shit, when Shawn Michaels returns. Like Triple H is great at doing really intense, engaging rivalries with just about everyone. Even in like the the Reign of Terror era, where he was just champion forever and had Evolution shielding him from anything that could come at him, as he just held on to the title for dear life. I really like this feud, though. I remember this feud. They did a video package, and in it, China told Mankind to come down and kiss her ass, and he said, "It's your lucky day because I'm a good kisser," which I don't expect from like this Mankind. I know we're just after him cutting that amazing promo in the interview with JR, where we find out about Dude Love and him growing up and loving wrestling and the passion and everything. But like that, when I think of stuff coming out of Mankind's mouth like that, I think of like corporate or just past corporate Mankind with the
white shirt down.
Yeah. Not squealing like a pig Mankind, stabbing myself in the leg and playing with rats Mankind.
Yeah, it is, because so 97 is a blind spot for me. I'm watching most of this for the first time, and it's it is, like you said, it's interesting to see this version of Mankind with the torn out hair and the brown get up, but he's acting like Mankind of 1999, 2000 or whatever. And I don't know what I prefer, because I thought his initial when he debuted, the squealing, the psych up the boiler room, I thought that was really interesting. And I thought the feud with The Undertaker and the early stuff he was doing was so great. But maybe it's this stuff, like the humanizing stuff, the borderline comedy stuff. I guess that's kind of what made him what he would go on to become. I don't know what, I guess, because the question, what is your favorite Mick Foley? I think it's a question that gets asked all the time. But what is your favorite version of Mankind specifically?
I would have to say it is probably what we talked about, the white button down, the more comedic Mankind, but also he still has those. I mean, even then, it's an era, right? It's 3 Mick Foleys in a Royal Rumble era. You talked about the Triple H stuff, but before the Triple H stuff was the Undertaker, who was another great feud that Mankind had, another rivalry that he also took a big part of and was made amazing. So it's really hard for this era to pin down who's the best rival for this character, because everybody, is Bret Hart the best rival, or is Vince McMahon the best rival, or is The Rock the best rival for Stone Cold? without Bret Hart, I don't know that we would see Stone Cold reach the heights that he reached. Like that match with him at WrestleMania, I'm assuming it was earlier this year for you, right? Well,
Yeah.
in your timeline. And this stuff with Bret leading up to what he will become before he even really starts interacting with McMahon, and then skyrockets past that, and then the Rock stuff, 3 WrestleMania main events, like everybody was getting in the mix, everybody was fucking everybody, and it was good for everyone who enjoyed it. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from the Attitude Era, because you hear a lot of people go, oh, well, the Attitude Era was offensive, the wrestling wasn't that great, it was this, it was that. But I've always said that I don't watch wrestling for the wrestling. I watch wrestling for the stories, and it's the stories that we get coming out of this that we remember the most. That, you know, we're on the cusp of Taker and Kane, arguably one of the greatest stories ever told, but rivalries like you said, Mankind and Taker, rivalries like Mankind and Triple H, rivalries like DX and the Hart Foundation and Stone Cold and Bret Hart and all of this stuff. That's the stuff from the Attitude Era that we love and remember, and why we hold it so dear to our hearts.
Yeah, and like this era of like transitioning into the Attitude Era is interesting because like obviously we have hindsight, but you can tell like why the stars of the Attitude Era became the like Mankind and Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Like they're pretty new here, but like they just have like a fire to them. Like they're bumping their asses off in this match. They're flying all over the ring. Triple H is still very like early iteration of him, but you could tell like he's like working his ass off out there. You could tell that he has it.
Yeah, we're right on the cusp of, you know, him joining Shawn Michaels and DX, Shawn Michaels, you know, coming back and all of that. China is with him now, who, by the way, Johnny Lawler, China is, because we look at plastic surgery now and we've kind of gone to extremes with plastic surgery and lip filler and BBLs and all of these things. But China is a prime example of someone that made plastic surgery work for her. Because when you look at her in 1996 with the square jaw and all of that, and then the woman that would end up in Playboy, like plastic surgery success story.
Yeah, it's crazy how it's almost like regressed in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm not, you know, super familiar with it. I'm all natural, believe it or not. So
don't lie. We know you got calf implants. I've seen those calves. Those are not natural.
Just the right one though. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, so no, it's interesting seeing this version of China and being like, oh, I jerked off to her last night. You know what I'm saying? But, what was it called? The Hulk one? Is there a title of that one where she's like painted green?
I think it was just She-Hulk.
She-Hulk.
Yep.
She-Hulk.
No, there was She-Hulk, and then there was the wrestling parody one where she was basically in a Royal Rumble, and there were a bunch of people who were about as badly cast as actual wrestlers as the Young Rock show. And then they all gangbanged her in the middle of a wrestling ring.
Yeah. It can't beat One Night in China, though. That's a classic.
Well, yeah. I mean, you get China and X-Pac stick, and nothing is going to top China plus X-Pac stick.
Yep. Well, we got a couple dicks here in this match. Mankind, Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
China.
And China. And China, most importantly, China's dick. So Mankind, biggest, I mean, probably. I mean, we always feel like that. I don't think we've ever had an episode where we don't like compare somebody's dick to somebody else's dick. But, you know,
the only person that would have outmatched China in pure metaphorical penis size was supposed to be in this match, or was supposed to be on the show and got cut.
Yeah. We'll definitely touch on that bloke later here. But no, this is a fun match. I mean, these guys obviously have great chemistry, even just from the beginning of their feud. All the stuff on the outside, the classic cactus elbow off the apron. You got Mankind suplexing trips onto the ramp. That gnarly power slam from China to Mankind into the steps. I mean,
oh yeah, no. You were talking about them bumping their asses off. There were chair shots. I mean, Mankind always bumps his ass off, and if you ever talk about prostituting your body, no one's probably prostituted their body more than Mankind. But yeah, the hip toss or power slam with his leg hitting the steps, chair shots, just China was as active in this match as Triple H was whenever they got on the outside.
Yeah. No, she was all throughout this match. But it was pretty seamless though. Like Triple H would distract the ref, and then China would get in a clothesline, or vice versa. No, there's some good stuff.
My favorite line from this was, it might have been JR, but someone applied the figure 4. I think Triple H applied it to Mankind, and they said that the figure 4 applies pressure to 7 points of the lower anatomy. And I need to know what 7 points of the lower anatomy the figure 4 applies pressure to.
All right. Let's see. So you got your knee, right? Calf, grundle, perineum. What's the perineum's like the ring around the head of the penis, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Throw up 2 fingers for that, because I think it really works that. The shaft, of course, and sphincter. I think it's a sphincter, yeah. So those are the 7 points.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was not aware, and I should have been, because it's a Ric Flair move, how crotch focused the figure 4 was.
Not a lot of people find themselves in figure 4s, so you really don't understand it until you're in it. But yeah, you will. You might come, honestly, if it gets locked on too long.
I've been doing it wrong all these years. I did not apply enough pressure to the crotch while doing the figure 4.
Fire it away tonight, man. You got to woo though before.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just messing around. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, but speaking of sphincters, this match fucked me up the ass because there was no winner. Double count out.
Which I was fine with, because like I said, then we brawl for the rest of the night. Like after the match, we brawled to the penalty box because we were in a hockey stadium.
Got to.
And then we brawl to the back, and then we brawl outside, and then we brawl to a gas station, and everyone gets a Slurpee.
I missed that part, I think.
Did you?
Yeah, I must have been not paying attention. Must have been in a figure 4 at that point.
Well, I watched it on VHS, so that might have been like a VHS exclusive after the fact. You know, I'm guessing you watched it on the cock because you love it on the cock. So
just all cock, no balls. That's what they call me. But initially I was annoyed at the double count out because like it's a pay-per-view. There's only 4 matches. Just give us a fucking finish. But then the way they carried it out with the brawl, it was a good looking brawl too. It was a believable fight. Like you said, it was kind of a thread that like in between all the matches, they'd still be like an hour and a half later, they were still brawling. They were outside. They were at the concession stand. Like it ended up being a pretty good deal and furthered their feud.
Yeah.
But, boy, only tip of the iceberg with those 2 gentlemen, I would say.
Hell in a Cells and all sorts of things coming.
Yeah. But you know who else is coming? Doc Hendricks. He's backstage with a cowboy hat. They all have the same cowboy hat, by the way. I don't know if you noticed that. They all, except JR, obviously. But I don't know if it's like a specific Canadian Stampede cowboy hat or if they just went to Big Lots and got a pack of 12. But I was disappointed at the lack.
If we have any Canadians listening, is there a Canadian Big Lots? Like, what would Canadian Big Lots be?
It's probably like Big Lots, eh? I don't know. I'll add a better joke in post. Don't worry.
Please do.
Yeah, it'll be nobody will notice though. It'll be very seamless. But Doc Hendricks he's interviewing the Heart Foundation, and they can barely get any words out until that guy right on that guy's midriff pops in, stone cold. There you go, goddamn! Can't really hear what he's saying, but he's being a nuisance. He's being a rabble rouser.
He was going to take 5 guys at once.
I mean, props to him. That's a lot of prep work that had to be done. So,
you ever had 5 guys before?
Yeah. It's been a while. A little too much sauce last time I had it.
That happens.
Yeah. Prolapsed. So we got Tacha Mika.
Michinoku.
See, I had this whole tirade on how I was going to make fun of JR for not pronouncing their names right, but it's karma.
I'm going to be honest with you, Kyle. I did not watch this match. I had no interest in this match. I gave zero fucks about Taka Michinoku versus the great Suzuki.
The great Sasuke is his name, not Sasuke or Sasuke, as everybody in this fucking arena is calling him.
The great Sucky, not for me. In the black ninja garb with the Lucha Libre mask, which, by the way, apparently that is a thing for Michinoku Pro. It is very Lucha Libre heavy as well. But Taka did not found Michinoku Pro. The great Sucky did, and wasn't for me. It wasn't.
There's four matches. There's 4 matches on the card, Matthew.
I didn't look at the card before I sat down to watch it. I thought, oh, if I skip this one, there'll be plenty more to go.
You should have came back to this after the main event and being like, that was the appetizer. Now the main course is Sucky versus Michinoku.
I apologize.
Disappointed. This has ended up being a pretty fun match. I did not have high hopes because they are just getting this light heavyweight division off the ground. They don't have a champion yet, but they're introducing various light heavyweight stuff. Do you know what the first ever light heavyweight match on Raw was? I'll give you $1 million if you can guess the 2 guys that faced each other.
The first light heavyweight match on Raw.
Yeah. That was like dubbed. Yeah.
Brian Pillman.
No.
Okay, then no.
Tommy Rogers versus Bobby Fulton.
Who?
Exactly. You know who else debuted in this division is Brian Christopher.
Yeah.
Also known as Grandmaster Sexay, also known as Jerry Lawler's son, which I did not know because I was watching the Raws leading up to that. I didn't know that they were like referencing that. Like Jerry was coming out with Brian as his manager for a little bit, which is interesting.
Until he became Grandmaster Sexay, and then he kind of denied it for a while, and then he really got behind Grandmaster Sexay, but didn't like say this is my kid. He was just a huge Grandmaster Sexay fan eventually.
I think so. But speaking of Grandmaster Sexay and Too Cool, Brian Christopher's second match on Raw was against Scott Taylor, aka Scotty Too Hottie, which is very like, I don't know if that was like the seeds being planted or we're still like 3 years or so away from Too Cool. So maybe not that long, but
next you're going to tell me that his third match in this light heavyweight division was against what the fuck was his name?
Make a Difference Fatu. Oh, the Sultan.
I was gonna say the Sultan. I was gonna say the Sultan.
Yeah. Didn't make the weight limit. 215 weight limit. So
the Sultan clearly was under 215. I don't know what you're talking about.
If you take off his boots, maybe. Yeah. His curly boots, it might be. But anyways. That really came and went, by the way. That really just stopped by for WrestleMania. I was like, oh, never mind. Yep. See ya. Goodbye. But no, this is a pretty fun. Like, it started off kind of slow, and at first I was like, oh, they're good. This is like them because it's clearly like a response to WCW's cruiserweight division and how popular that's become. And it's like, oh, they're gonna do a watered down version of. But this ended up being a pretty fun match with a lot of, high flying action and martial arts stuff that you don't see in this era of WWF. So
can I explain myself? When I saw this match presented to me, and I saw the great Sucky come out, I looked at him and I thought, this is a parody wrestler. Like, the match is going to end and we're going to find out this is someone else. I didn't realize that he was actually like a Japanese legendary wrestler who started a promotion and everything. From like the black clothes and everything and the mask, it just gave me like, this is not a serious thing. And I never cared about Taka Michinoku until Kai and Tai became a thing.
Okay.
So I was like, early Taka, and then whatever this parody is, this is going to be a joke that they're not taking this seriously. And clearly I was wrong.
Are you familiar with the Sasuke special maneuver?
No.
The move that Sol Ruka does, where you like do the handspring and then moonsault over the top rope. That was this gentleman. I don't know if he invented it. I would assume so, since it's named after him. Maybe it was his dad or I don't know. But Yeah, so but when you just look at him, I agree. It looks like a caricature. It's like Vince McMahon's like, oh, God damn you, Asian. You're a ninja.
Yeah.
Kung Fu Naki. So, but no, that was his deal. And some fun kicks. I mean, there were some spinning back kicks that looked like they knocked Taka Michinoku's teeth into the 5th row. I mean, pretty stiff stuff. Some dives to the outs. We got Asai moonsaults. We got Taka jumping in one leap to the top rope and springboarding to the outside. I mean, in 1997 WWF, this was like completely. It was like aliens coming from the sky and landing. Like, this was insane. Crowd was super into it. Like, we got Michinoku driver, which is like a transition move nowadays, but we got the guy doing it here, but only for a 2 count. Great Sasuke comes back, lion salt, power bomb, dragon suplex to Taka, and gets the win. So Sasuke, the great Sasuke, gets the win here. And I don't know when the light heavyweight title comes into play, but pretty good start, I would say. Definitely worth a watch.
We also went from that interview to entrances, and then we cut away from the match to watch Triple H and Mankind brawl. So again, that was a signal like this wasn't going to be shit. We don't need to care about this, because they just stood in the ring for like 5 minutes while Triple H and Mankind were brawling before the bell even rang. I thought we were going to cut back to the match having already been started. I didn't think they were just going to wait.
No, that's valid. I actually had a similar note, like, because I didn't have high hopes for this. So I was like, okay, you got the commentary team mispronouncing both their names. You got Fink calling this a junior heavyweight match when it's a light heavyweight match. And then you got them cutting to some other guys fighting before these guys start fighting. So I was like, at the beginning, I was like, oh, I was rolling my eyes at it, but it kicked in and it made my giny tingle. So
I will probably not go back and watch this, but if it makes you happy, I'll tell you I did.
At least like put on a ninja mask or something and send me a picture just wearing the mask.
Okay. I'll see what I can do.
Yeah. But anywho, I'm just thinking of Repo Man. Have you ever dressed as Repo Man?
I've not.
You should.
Though, because it is the next match, my wife and I were talking because she actually came in around the time that this match started. I would kill a Vader cosplay.
Yeah, don't you have a mask? No, you have a Mankind mask.
I have a Mankind mask. I need to get a Vader mask because I would kill a Vader cosplay.
Well, you could have, when looking at this next match, it's very clear. We got the WWF title on the line, the champion, The Undertaker, defending against Vader, but it was not supposed to be Vader. Matt, who was it supposed to be?
The biggest dick in WWF, Ahmed Johnson.
Man. So do you remember the chain of events that led up to him not being in this match?
No, I do not.
Are you sure? Are you just lying so that you can let me describe it?
I would never lie to you or the people, Kyle, for exposition purposes.
No, I'm not. Please continue, host of the show. So Ahmed, and again, this is like stuff that I've all been like vaguely familiar with, including like the Undertaker lore, which we'll touch on in a second. But the whole Ahmed stuff with Farouk and the Nation, like I knew that they fought and then they linked up together and then that they broke up. I didn't know when each of these things happened or for how long. So I didn't think Ahmed turned heel and joined the Nation until like the very end. But it was right after it was a King of the Ring. So, a couple weeks before this, Ahmed Johnson, who was teaming with the Undertaker, taking on Farouk and Kama, who's a new member of the Nation.
Mustafa.
They got rid of Crush, got rid of Savio, replaced it, in his words, made it bigger and blacker.
Which is the way we want our nation. Like, I listened to you guys talk about King of the Ring, and I heard you guys speculate and talk about Ahmed Johnson training, which I honestly don't remember. I thought Ahmed held out the entire time. I don't remember him joining the Nation, but I did agree that there were way too many white people in the Nation, period, from the go, and I don't know why.
Yeah, no, it was very bizarre. They even had like the fist and everything. Like they had all the undertones. It just happened to be fucking dumb Crush over here. Like, what is he? I don't
Hawaiian.
know. They figured it out. They got the whole gang warfare going on. You got Crush. We had the debut of the Disciples of Apocalypse. We have the debut of Las Boricuas, but specifically DOA. So Ahmed turns heel on Undertaker. It was Ahmed and Taker taking on Farouk and Kama. During that match, Ahmed never tagged in. Kama pins Undertaker pretty clean, which is they played it off like, oh, Undertaker couldn't make a tag, so it was a handicap, like whatever. But Undertaker loses. Ahmed runs Farouk and Kama off. And then Ahmed picks up Undertaker and gives him the Pearl River plunge in the middle of the ring.
No.
God. No. Why, Ahmed? Why? This guy's dripping. He's bulging, vascular, bald. He turns on the Undertaker, walks up the ramp, stands shoulder to shoulder with Farouk, Kama, and D'Lo, puts his fist up. Ahmed Johnson joins the nation, the new nation of domination.
You're an amazing storyteller, because I said I thought that Ahmed held out, but as you described that scene right there, I do remember Ahmed Johnson with his giant Johnson in the red little undies and all of the sexy straps and all of the sweat, holding that fist up next. Yeah, the picture is there. I remember it now.
That closed out Raw. Next week, the first segment. So for all intents and purposes, a few minutes after he turns, the next week, whatever, episodically a few minutes later, he comes out wearing all black. He's got the black tights, a black, compression tank top. He's got the hat, comes out with the nation. He's explaining himself. He's saying he never got opportunities because he's a black man, because this really emotional, passionate promo. Then DOA comes out for their debut. They come out there on their motorcycles. They come out to the ring. They confront. It's Crush, the Harris brothers, and is it Brian Lee? Chains?
Yeah, I think so.
So these four blokes, which, by the way, just the visual of this. We have this black power faction, and now we got these bikers who are getting cheered, by the way.
And the rumor is, and I don't know how much of a rumor and how much fact it is the Harris brothers were actually like racist, like had
probably
neo-Nazi tattoos and shit that they had to hide.
It's method acting, hopefully.
I don't think there's any method in that acting.
But they surround the nation, and Crush is pissed because he got kicked from the nation. So Crush is like, these are my real brothers. We ride together and we fight together. And then a brouhaha ensues. They're all fighting. A fracas implodes in the ring. They're all fighting each other. And amongst this brawl, one of the Harris brothers like judo throws Ahmed Johnson, and he blows up his knee, Ahmed's knee.
Yeah, racist piece of shit. And this is exactly what Ahmed was talking about. He joined the nation because bald white motherfuckers like this guy didn't want to see him get a championship match. Now he had a championship match. He was scheduled for one, and they said, no, fuck your knee.
Which, I mean, just how instant it was. Turns, next segment, the very next segment, he injures himself, and it's done. And then I think he eventually like turns on the nation, like when he comes back, and it's like crazy. It's just a weird run for Ahmed. And like you said, it was supposed to be Ahmed versus Undertaker. It is not. Very unfortunate. Because Ahmed was, his best days are behind him, unfortunately.
I don't remember why, but I remember in this era specifically, absolutely hating Savio Vega. I know Austin and Savio Vega are gonna either they had a feud or they're going to have a feud here very soon. But I hated Savio Vega for something he said, one of his promos, something. I hated Savio Vega back then.
He's very just like, when he was like babyface Savio Vega is like, listen, man, I'm going to kick your butt. Like, it's like, shut up, asshole. Like, he's just a cornball. But I've just had a taste of Las Boricuas, and I kind of like what I'm seeing. But we'll see. But So that's one side of the coin. Well, that's not even a part of this match. It's just kind of how we got here.
We were supposed to have that match, and instead we needed a replacement. And the replacement was Vader, managed by, listen, all of the great managers in professional wrestling, first name Paul, Heyman, Bearer, Ellering.
Paul.
I tried to think of more, I couldn't. So good luck.
You said Heyman, right? Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there's other ones. But man, I mean, homie hopper extraordinaire, Paul Bearer. He's with the Undertaker. Then he was with Mankind. Now he's with Vader. But he's also he was with Undertaker for a second. And then he's gonna be with Kane. Crazy. But man, I mean, the rabbit hole. Look, you know what this calls for? The lore alarm.
I was specifically told by someone who shall remain nameless that may or may not be on my show every week and is not Vince, that she was very excited about the lore alarm and it needed to be a thing going forward. So she's going to be very happy to hear this.
I think that was the wrong horn, by the way. Hold on. Yeah, that's the lore alarm. Because, I mean, if there's ever a time to explore the lore, well, that's fun. Explore the lore.
We are lore whores around here.
I mean, come on. It's time to dive deep into Undertaker and what happened to his parents. Because another thing that I've been like, whatever. Taker's parents died. Him and Kane were brothers. There's a fire or something. I kind of like had this like cloudy understanding of what happened. But man, Paul Bearer and Undertaker went into great detail on Raws leading up to this as to what happened with the Undertaker's parents and his little brother Kane. Matthew, I mean, how familiar? I mean, you're a big Undertaker guy, so I'm sure you're intimately familiar with the, quite frankly, the tragic upbringing of Mr. Undertaker.
If I remember correctly, because it has been a long time since I've revisited the Raws and stuff from this era where they lay everything out. But there was a fire that was started supposedly by the Undertaker that killed, or so he thought, his parents and his brother Kane. But Paul has he let us know that Kane did not die in the fire, that Kane is alive? Because they were kind of alluding to that on commentary.
Yes. I think it was the week before this show they did. Yes.
Yeah. Because we are on the road to one of the greatest debuts in wrestling history, which will be at Bad Blood in Hell in a Cell.
Long build, by the way. It's like 3 months away, though. That's like, man, it's a long build up for. I mean, I guess it ended up being worthwhile, but man. But yes, just to kind of paint the picture here. So Paul Bearer, for a while, he had threatened Undertaker via blackmail. He's like, if you don't let me manage you, I'm going to reveal your dark secret to the world. Eventually, Taker got fed up with it. He's like, whatever. Tell it, Paul. Who gives a turkey? That's what Undertaker said. So Paul comes out on Raw.
Is it a turkey because of the gobbledygooker? And
yeah, it's really this long-term storytelling.
That's really good.
Kind of amazing.
I'm proud of you
when you really think about it. Paul Bearer comes. Vince McMahon's in the ring. He calls out Paul Bearer. As Paul Bearer is coming to the ring, I've never seen this. Paul Bearer is walking to the ring. A random fan hops the barricade and tackles him like in slow motion. It's just the most awkward. And commentary is like, oh, it's one of the creatures of the night trying to stop Paul Bearer from telling his secret. But wild scenes. So both Paul Bearer and Undertaker kind of have their interpretation of it. So Paul Bearer explains that Undertaker's father was a mortician and his mother was the secretary at this funeral home, and Paul Bearer was the apprentice to Undertaker's father, which I'd never really known how Paul Bearer came into the equation. So that was kind of a nice piece of lore to add to the equation.
That's also the same sound I make when I come. My understanding is that Paul Bearer was actually a mortician prior to wrestling too. So
he was. So there's a nugget of truth to this. So So Paul Bearer is easy. They're all in this funeral home, and the parents have these two kids, Undertaker and a sweet little boy named Kane.
Yeah, real sweet.
He's just paying like Paul's like he had this bratty redheaded kid, the Undertaker, and this sweet little tyke Kane, who just followed Undertaker. He just mimed whatever he did. He was his biggest influence, and he just did whatever Undertaker did. And one day, Paul Bearer left to go to his mortician school or whatever, comes back, and the funeral home is in ashes. There's fire trucks, there's ambulances. And somehow Paul knows that the parents died and he's distraught. Paul Bearer looks behind him into the bushes. Who does he see? The Undertaker. And through that, he has put together that the Undertaker committed arson and killed his parents on purpose.
Yeah,
Seems like a big.
I mean, you return to the scene of the crime, right? He's hiding, he's watching because he's clearly guilty. I also, I think that the urn contains the ashes of his dead parents that he gets his power from.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
And for a while he thought his brother, but then that's not a,
Well, see, so Paul, he doesn't make it clear who exactly. He says that the parents died. So he's cutting this whole promo. He's running down. Undertaker was a bratty kid. He would take Kane and they would smoke cigarettes behind the funeral home. They were like playing with the embalming fluid or whatever. And this comes into play later in the show where Undertaker is backstage. He's crying. Little bitch boy Undertaker backstage in his dark locker rooms. Like, God damn, it's true, everybody. It's true. I killed my parents and my brother. And he says that him and Kane were playing with matches that day. And the father saw them playing with the matches, and the father punished them because the embalming fluid is super flammable. So you can't be playing with matches, is what the father said.
Clearly not.
So Undertaker said, okay, I won't play with the matches. He went to go do his chores. And then as he was doing his chores, I guess somewhere outside of the funeral home, he saw Kane walking out in the back of the funeral home with the embalming fluid, doing God knows what with it. So Undertaker goes and does his chores, comes back, using it as lubricant. Comes
I don't know if you know this. Embalming fluid is the best lubricant.
Embalming fluid.
Ming fluid. Yep.
Ming fluid. So Undertaker comes back and he sees that the funeral home is on fire. He smells the smoke. He sees the fire trucks, and he doesn't know what happened. He was doing his chores. He comes back, and the funeral home is ablaze, and the policemen, the firemen wouldn't let him go in. So for all he knew, his parents and his brother both perished in that funeral home. And he's again. I mean, the whole deal with the Undertaker, like he's not actually a zombie, but he's taken this childhood trauma and now he gets power from the dead. Because without death, there can be no life.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
The entire time you were giving us the lore here, I was thinking the whole Katie Vick thing makes so much sense, knowing that Kane grew up in a funeral home, because like obviously that would be a kink of his, right? Growing up in a funeral home, necrophilia, like it all ties in.
You know what's so that's a great point. Because more lore, I mean, like, so just the title, like Undertaker's living his whole life through elementary school, high school, college, his early adulthood, going to wrestling school. He's living his life thinking his brother is dead. But while Undertaker is dealing with this trauma and this heartache, Kane is just busting nuts into women in the back of a car and then speeding and then crashing into people.
And
Kane doesn't care.
Who raised Kane? Who was taking care of Kane? Like, who was allowing this to happen at the time? You know, because mom and dad were dead. Kane was assumed dead As far as we know, Undertaker was taken in by Paul Bearer and raised by Paul Bearer. Paul Bearer put him through wrestling school, which the idea of the Undertaker just going to wrestling school and like taking bumps and shit was hilarious to me for some reason. The way you presented it.
I'm looking up fire-based wrestlers because I'm trying to like. Is there another like? I mean, Kane is the guy. Like that's all that's coming up. Terry Funk, maybe he used fire a lot in his matches. I don't know. Maybe Kane was just free range. He was just out in the woods. Maybe just hopping from couch to couch throughout his entire life. Because, you know, he didn't. The mask ultimately wasn't for physical scars. It was psychological. So
like,
I mean,
Jason Voorhees, after his mom got beheaded, just hanging out in the woods, jerking off with embalming fluid, raising himself.
Yeah. You think he's jerking off the embalming fluid like his entire childhood?
I think that's how the fire started. Friction, right? He ran out of embalming fluid, and the friction, and then the spark. The jar probably had a leak in it, so as he was walking out to his special spot out in the woods, you know, and then the fire just caught and came right back to, and then.
I mean, perhaps, and that just really, that begs the question. So Kane, you know, is his entrance, the fire. Yes.
It's also why his right arm was the only part of him that wasn't burnt, because that's the arm he used to.
Because otherwise, you would see the asymmetrical arms.
Yeah, the scarring and all of that would be there, but it's not.
He had to take a few years to, like, you know, stop doing curls or jerking off with the other hand, maybe, to make it more even. But the fire in his entrance on the stage and on the ring posts, is that all just a big metaphor for his semen?
Probably.
I
if
mean,
anyone is still listening at this point, we fucking apologize. We are so sorry.
There's 4 matches. We got to stretch. So, but yeah, no, it's, I mean, honestly, like it's campy, it's silly, but I admire the detail to the story.
Oh, I loved this story growing up. Like this is one of the feud with Taker and Mankind, I think was the first one that hooked me, like the Boiler Room Brawl stuff and all of that. And Paul Bearer turning on the Undertaker. And then this is like my bread and butter. This is where like I really fell in love with Undertaker and what he would do going forward. And Kane was such a cool looking character. And there was all of this lore. You got it. Lore. Thank you.
I'm learning.
It was so cool. And it as ridiculous as it is looking back on it and unbelievable as a child, this was the most fascinating fucking thing to me. This whole idea of how these two came to be. And Kane's still alive. And I think eventually we find out that either Kane actually started the fire or maybe Paul Bearer started the fire.
I think it was Paul Bearer personally.
Yeah, if I remember correctly.
But yeah, so but again, we have a few more months until Kane shows up. So they're really planting the seeds, so to speak. Oh, by the way, we got Vader here. He's facing the Undertaker, which last minute replacement for Ahmed. It's whatever. I didn't hate the match. Like I thought. I mean, late stage is Vader. It's he's kind of toast at this point, unfortunately. But it wasn't a bad match. I don't think. I don't know what you think about
it. They were very loose with the refereeing throughout the show, but especially here, like there was a dick kick right in front of the ref, no DQ.
Yeah, that bummed me out
on commentary. What I enjoyed about this is Canadian Stampede, and the fucking crowd started a literal stampede during this match. They were very into this match.
They made it the shaky camera, yeah.
The whole, that was not just a shaky camera. The entire building was shaking. It was like earthquake was there.
Oh. Did he shake the entire building?
Every time he took
John
a step.
Tenta?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. That's why they call him. I mean, probably a stupid question on my part. I mean, they call him Earthquake.
I don't know why you asked that question, but
I'm really a silly goose.
The only thing here was they botched the finish. Undertaker went for the tombstone, and then Vader tried to counter the tombstone and fell over, and then they kind of made the save by going into a pin to kind of hide it.
the inertia on that 69 flip, I'll call it, was out of this world. I mean,
Yeah.
like they tried to do the Taker has him up for the tombstone, and the idea was for Vader to flip him over into his own tombstone, but it was a little too much rotation, it was a little too fast, the weight distribution.
Me and Vader very top heavy. All right, so if you add the Undertaker's weight to that top heaviness that we already have,
right,
like, it's all going back.
Yeah, that's why you don't do flying 69s anymore, right?
Yeah, no, I had to cut that back after I got married.
Right. After the accident.
Yep.
Once you had children, you just couldn't do that anymore. They need you around, not paralyzed.
Well, no, it was because of the accident that I was like, if I want to have children, no more flying 69s.
Right. Yeah. It's very admirable of you to, it's a strong addiction, flying 69s. You can't just cut that cold turkey.
If you've never tried it, try it. Listen, I'm telling you. Once you pop, the fun don't stop. That's
what they say. That's what you always say to me. So yeah, the match is fine. Like that, other than that botch, and the low blows right in front of the ref, pretty fine match. It was kind of whatever. Vader goes for the Vader bomb. Undertaker with an uppercut right to the asshole.
Uppercut.
Oh. I think, I can't remember if I brought this up to you or not. If you hit somebody in the asshole in a wrestling match, is that a DQ?
I don't think so.
Is that considered a low? It's more like a back blow than a low blow.
Yeah. No, I feel like any sort of trauma to the asshole is legal.
Yeah, it's like an atomic drop, right? I mean, it's just,
which is why I'm surprised guys like Solo Sikoa or like other wrestlers that wrestle barefoot didn't just stick a toe up there.
I thought you were going to go with his thumb. Thought like a thumb up there.
You could also do the thumb too, but like we're talking about, I guess kicking,
Samoan
thumbing.
Peg. Yeah. But yeah, uppercut to Vader, and then a choke slam off the second rope, which looked pretty zesty. Tossed him all the way across the ring, and then 2 count though. Only after that, then hits him with a regular choke slam again for a 2 count. So we're seeing this resiliency from the Mastodon Vader, but then Taker gets him up somehow for the Tombstone Pile Driver, nails it. 1, 2, 3. Taker retains. Crowd was pretty into this, I guess. I would have preferred Ahmed, but I don't know.
Yes and no, because obviously Taker was retaining. They have plans going down the road for Taker. And I kind of like, if we're going to put Ahmed in the title match, I don't want to see him take an L. I'd like to see him win something. It's never going to happen. We know this.
Do you not think that there's a chance that Ahmed would have won this?
I don't.
Because the nation was being pushed pretty hard, and Undertaker had this storyline that didn't necessarily need a title.
No, I don't disagree with you. I just, if they were going to put the title on Ahmed, they would have done it at some point after this, and they didn't. So I don't see them doing it here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we never got back around to it. Like, we never said, oh, well, he got hurt, but when he comes back, we'll get back to it. We never got back to Ahmed becoming champion. So I don't have faith that they would have done it. I would have loved to see it, though. Like, that Ahmed, the Pearl River plunge, the sweatiness, the giant cock on that guy would have looked great with the title around that waist.
Most importantly, yeah. I think at a certain point, though, you just become like the injury-prone guy. So maybe without that injury, maybe they would have had more faith in him to put it on him, but guess we'll never know. But yeah, no, he was... I was honestly surprised they turned him heel when they did, because he was still red hot. Like that bullshit King of the Ring match with Hunter Hearst Helmsley. It was like 3 minutes, but he was like over like Rover in it. And I don't know. I feel like they could have capitalized on that.
Well,
if
you guys talked
joined
about
the nation, he wouldn't have gotten that injury probably. So tomato. I don't know.
You guys talked about the curtain call and how Austin got the title shot, which I think you and I covered, or
yes,
maybe I did that with Fretz. But anyway, how that was supposed to be Triple H, and they're like, you're gonna have to eat shit for a while, and that while was like a year, if not less, before he's then just given the King of the Ring back. So like he didn't really eat shit that long.
No. He maybe smelled a fart, but he did not eat shit. So, but Speaking of smelling farts, we got 10 farts.
They tricked me.
How'd they trick you?
Well, because before this match, there was a promo package, and it was DOA versus Los Bruicuas versus the Nation. And I thought we were getting a race war match. I was excited. I was like, race wars. And then no race wars.
Maybe one day. But hold on. I thought I saved. Hold on. Please hold. What do you think about this group of characters right here? Team America. Matthew, when you think of Team America, you got Stone Cold, the LOD, Ken Shamrock, and Goldust. What a cast of characters that lies before us.
I think Austin and LOD work really well together. I like that pairing. I would have liked it. I would have been down for more of that. I think those three guys, personality-wise, go great together. Ken Shamrock, at this point, not much personality.
In his own.
And in 1997, I feel like everyone in this picture would hate Goldust for just being Goldust.
Why is that, Matt?
They weren't kind to the androgynous people that dressed up, wore wigs, presented themselves in the way that Goldust does. You know, effeminate. He's kind of past like the very openly physical contact that he was doing, where he was basically molesting people in the ring.
Yeah, he's not leaving gold sparkles on Ahmed's crotch anymore. Yes.
Okay, yeah. But I mean, that was a thing. And those four guys are four guys that don't look like they would be a fan of that if it were to walk into a bar they were drinking at.
Probably not. But yeah, so we got a 10-man tag here. Like we mentioned, we got Team USA, Goldust, Ken Shamrock, Stone Cold, and the LOD taking on the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart, Brian Pillman, Jim Neidhart, Owen Hart, and the British Bulldog, accompanied by Diana Smith, and with pretty much the entire Hart family in attendance, seemingly.
I've always been confused as to why Brian Pillman was part of the Hart Foundation, because he did not marry into the family like British Bulldog did, or Dynamite Kid. You know, like, he's not related to the Harts.
So he was trained by Stu Hart.
Big fucking whoop. A lot of people were.
Oh, they needed a fifth guy. We gotta get fucking dumb. What's his tits that was on the other side? Bruce Hart. You could add to this team.
I mean, Bruce Hart got some action. Why the fuck not?
Fuck Bruce Hart and fuck Diana Smith. By the way,
fuck Bruce Hart. We could have got Stu in there at 82 years old.
He got in the ring.
Yeah,
they carried him to the ring, but he got in the ring.
Stu always reminds me of Sal Bandini from Ready to Rumble. That's whenever I see Sal, I think Stu Hart. Like that. That's who that was supposed to be.
It is. I mean, just the scene that they set here. This is the match, obviously, that everybody thinks of when we're talking Canadian Stampede.
It was a Stampede.
The atmosphere of the arena, you brought it up earlier. They were stomping their feet. They were loud. The arena was shaking. I mean, this is
Canadian
like God.
Dixie chicks were out there singing the anthem.
I'm gonna say this, right? And I know I have a lot of Canadian listeners. I understand, and I love you all. The Canadian national anthem sucks a donkey dick. Now, I've only heard these ladies sing it, and the Quebecers, and was the amazing French Canadians in WCW, and Petey Williams in TNA. So maybe I haven't heard the right musicians sing it, but this anthem fucking blows.
You're not a big Farmer's Daughter fan, huh?
What?
Who I referred to as
is that this band?
Yeah, they were the Farmer's Daughter. So if you guys watch this, depending on when you watch this, about the third week of June, my friends over at Wallop Media are going to be dropping an episode where they sat down and made us listen to Canadian bands, and then we reviewed the songs from Canada. So if you want to know how I feel about Canadian music, that is something to go check out. Unfortunately,
Isn't Nickelback Canadian?
Nickelback is Canadian. I requested Nickelback. I requested Alanis Morissette. I requested Bryan Adams. I requested Farmer's Daughter. I wanted more Farmer's Daughter after this. I got none of that. So no rush.
Are they Farmer's Daughter? Let's see if they're still around. Are they touring? I don't know if that's going to come up if I type in Farmer's Daughter.
Depends on the search.
Yeah. Okay, there's a lot of restaurants. Yeah, the band is not. I mean, there's a movie called Farmer's Daughter. There's another.
Did you type in Farmer's Daughter Canada?
Farmer's Daughter Pickles comes up before this dumb band.
So they were active from 1993 to 2002.
Are they? So they're done, huh? Did they die in a plane accident or something?
Canadian country music group, recorded 3 studio albums, charted 16 singles on the Canadian country music chart. Their highest charting single was the #1 song called Cornfields or Cadillacs, which I believe was also the title of one of their albums.
I hope they got stomped out by Mies, Farmer's Daughter. Cornbread and Cadillacs?
And listen, in 2016, the group was inducted into the BC Country Music Hall of Fame. So I'm assuming British Columbia Country Music Hall of Fame.
The Bestiality Hall of Fame. It's like, there's a whole Hall of Fame.
They were inducted into the BBC Country Music Hall of Fame.
Damn. Hot egg on my face, I guess. And they must have some.
They did a reunion show in 2008.
Let's get them back. Let's get them doing another theme song. What's the next pay-per-view in Canada?
WrestleMania is what I heard.
Are they going back for like Elimination Chamber or something? I don't know. But they're All Out, right? Isn't All Out in Canada? Get them and I don't know. Just throwing it out there. If Tony Khan's listening, Farmer's Daughter, I'm sure they're available. But they're here, so they sing the Canadian national anthem.
Kyle loved it.
They cut ringside. They got the premier of Alberta ringside, which I don't know what that is, but probably a pretty important person. Is that like the emperor or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
And then they cut to Stu Hart and Helen Hart right next to him, who I think Helen knows she's there. I don't know if Stu does. And then there's Bruce. There's all the grandkids ringside. And then we get to the entrances. This is a nice little tidbit. I liked how all of the Hart Foundation guys got their individual entrances. So they all got their pops and they all got their shine, which is cool. So I was watching this with the softest part of the ring. And there was one member. Is
she here today, by the way?
She's at work, I think, at this moment.
Never fucking home when you spend time with me.
I can't let her know about you. I wish I could quit you.
The first winner of the Golden Apron Grand Slam Championship, and she is just avoiding me like AIDS.
No respect. Okay. She's taking prep for you. So, but no, she was watching this with me, and there was one member of the Hart Foundation that she found particularly attractive. Can you guess who?
Owen Hart.
Nope.
No? Is there a member of the Hart Foundation that looks like you? No, there's not. I mean, you've got the calves of British Bulldog. You've got the gentlemanly good looks of Bret Hart. And, the sex appeal of Brian Pillman. Was it Brian Pillman?
Who are you leaving out, Matt?
Owen Hart, British Bulldog, Bret Hart, Brian Pillman. Is there another member of this match? Really, Jim Neidhart?
I think it's because she was a big Total Divas gal. And she's only seen him from that show. So I think
now I know why you don't want her to meet me.
Right? You're just going to steal her from me. That's why I never let Vader near her either. It's like, all right,
I could absolutely do a Jim Neidhart too. You know?
I mean, he's not a bad looking guy. I don't know. Out of the 5 of them, I don't know. I guess I need to
No,
grow
it
out
makes
this
sense now.
and make this more pointy, I guess. I don't know. Or do that a little bit more, you know?
I always forget about Jim Neidhart because he's the third best Neidhart.
Wait, there's Natty and what's her tits?
What is her tits? They're on OnlyFans.
Oh, they're the one. She's the one with the tits. What is her? It's not.
I mean,
Nicole,
Natty
is it?
also has tits.
Yeah, but like she's the one with the tits.
Jenny Neidhart.
Jenny.
There's
from
actually
the block.
3 sisters, and the third sister doesn't really do much, so she's fourth on the list. But it's
Damn.
Jenny, Natty, and Jim. And I think I had Jim above Natty for a little while, but this new iteration of Natty that we've gotten, the low-key legend Natty, bumped her up the list a little bit for me,
I don't hate it.
But Jenny's
Don't
still the
hate
best
it.
Neidhart.
Yeah, making. Every time I see her, she's making cake, and it's all over her dumb tits. It's like, all right, enough.
Why are her tits dumb? They look very smart to
They're
me.
dumb
And also,
with cakes all over it.
me and your wife have that in common. We both have an attraction to the Neidharts.
Well, start your own little heart foundation. Why don't you? I don't care. Anywho's, we got a wrestling match at some point. It breaks out 10-man tag.
Austin took out Owen, and then Austin got taken out.
Well, Austin and Brett start, which I think was very apropos.
Mhm.
Just heat right from the get-go. I mean, it's a 10-man tag. You don't really have the time to build like these intricate stories within the match. This match is pure vibes. They take turns pairing off with each other. Every guy gets a pop when he comes in, and yada yada yada. Yes, you sound like you have a thought.
Nothing against Bulldog and Pillman, but could we have just kept Ken Shamrock, Goldust, Bulldog, and Pillman off this and done Brett, Owen, and Jim versus the LOD and Austin?
Yeah, well, also another nugget. Hold on.
I'm not
Shawn
a
Michaels.
Damn it. I'm a Blackheart.
Not there yet. He has the hair, but we're not quite there yet. No. HB Shizzle. It's another element of this story that adds. I mean, so we in the timeline of time. So we are after Stone Cold and Shawn became tag team champions. In fact, they technically were the champions, I think, at the time of this match. But Shawn and Brett got into a real fight backstage, which I didn't really know about until recently. So I looked it up, and yeah, they had a real scuffle backstage, and Shawn Michaels quit very briefly. Comes back like later this month or whatever.
Lost his smile, right?
Well, no, this is after he lost his smile, came back, then quit.
Was this the Sunny Days thing? Or not yet?
Yes. I think it was
Sunny
a
Days?
response. I think that's why they fought.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to think Shawn Michaels wasn't right in the head during this time period.
What? Really?
Hot take alert. This is the hot take alert horn. Hot take. Hold on.
It also makes sense that Shawn and Austin were tag team partners because they both at some point said, fuck this place, I'm leaving. I don't like what's going on here. Austin was like, fuck making me lose a qualifier to Brock Lesnar, I quit. And Shawn was like, fuck Bret Hart for punching me in the face for talking about his infidelity, I quit.
Yeah. It's a very tumultuous time, but I bring that up because I would assume he would have been a part of this match, which would have added something to it. But I don't know if it would have been like him replacing Goldust or Ken Shamrock or whatever. But
or Chris Candido.
He showed up on Raw during like 2 weeks before this, which is crazy.
He's going to go to ECW with Sonny after Sonny's.
Well, he's in ECW at this point. So this is when they were having all the ECW guys. They had Sabu wrestle on Raw. Sandman was there. Rob Van Dam. Yeah. I mean, RIP this whole fucking match pretty much, but it's really depressing watching the Hart Foundation.
Banger, bro. What are you talking about?
I mean, no, the match is good, but it's ghosts, this match.
Yeah.
But outside of that, this match, it fucking ruled. Like, it was just chaos, but I mean, this was fun. So fun.
I loved. So we lost Owen, right? Not.
Yes.
I mean, yes, we lost Owen, but in the match, Owen got hurt and got taken to the back, and he was gone.
Chair to the leg. Yep.
Chair to the leg from Austin, and then Austin got hurt. Again, leg issues. I believe it was Brett.
So it's Brett. Yeah.
Yeah. Wrapping his leg around the ring post, hitting the ring post figure 4 and doing all that.
Yeah.
And then Austin stumbles back down to the ring. And then Owen stumbles back down to the ring. And they both make it back in the match. And then they face off. And eventually Owen will break Stone Cold's neck. That's not here yet. But on the outside, Austin is kicking the shit out of Owen in front of his family. And random Hart family member number 3 throws a beer at Stone Cold. And that's when everything just falls apart.
That's pretty much when the match ended, right?
Yeah.
Which it felt pretty abrupt, but I was like, I guess if not now, then when? Like, I don't know, but because like he's Austin gets sent to the back, so does Owen. They both come back. Austin locks in a sharpshooter on Brett. Owen comes back, breaks it up. We're brawling all around the ring, getting thrown into the commentary tables. Austin, Brett are outside. Like you said, Austin had a drink thrown on him. Gets in the ring. He's distracted by Bruce or whoever the fuck. He turns around and gets rolled up by Owen Hart. And Owen Hart pins Stone Cold Steve Austin fairly clean in the middle of the ring. I don't know if clean's the word, but he definitively pins him, and the Harts win out of nowhere. Owen, I thought Brett would be the guy to get the win, but no, it's Owen Hart. Which is
again,
cool
no DQ. The Hart family's reaching over the barricade. There's brawls. People are getting fucked up, and in the
Stu
ring.
did a pile driver to Animal. It was crazy,
dude.
Crazy.
It was a Canadian destroyer.
This is the good joke alarm. So I only have 2 alarms set up. Fuck off. All right. Well, the Harts win. The Hart family. So how many goddamn Harts are there, by the way? They just kept coming.
There are a lot.
That's how there's so many. You know what I'm saying?
They all come into the ring at the end, and they all go to celebrate. And then Jerry goes, "Oh my God, they're going to put Helen in there." And Vince goes, "What?" And it was like a legit what? Like, you're going to do what? Like, I guess they didn't have insurance for Helen or whatever, but Vince was unaware that Helen was ever going to get in the ring and was very caught off guard by the fact that she was getting brought into the ring with Stu. Because they're like, oh, Stu Hart, 82 years old in a WWF ring. Yay, Hart family. Helen's getting there. What?
Yeah, Vince saw that and he was like, ah! And then he saw Stu get in the ring and he's like, I think he's gonna die. So it was really crazy. It was really crazy stuff that happened on the back end of this program. But yeah, the Harts win. The ring fills up with Harts. And the grandkids, the old fucks, of course, the wrestlers. You get that famous shot of Owen, and I think it was Oj. He was holding with the Canadian flag. It was cool. It was just a feel-good match, even though they're technically heels, which is like the fascinating part of this. Just they happen to be in their hometown, so they're the baby faces. But no, good stuff. I mean, that's what the crowd came for. That's what the crowd got. And that brings the show to a close.
Yeah.
So, good, easy breezy watch. I mean, if you had to throw a grade, 0 to 100 at Canadian Stampede, what do you think you would throw at it?
I mean, I didn't watch the Japanese match, and apparently that was really good. So that's on me.
Sucky.
There, the Hearts in the ring at the end is kind of an iconic WWE moment, and it's what this pay-per-view is known for, but the actual 10-man tag and the participants are whatever, and we didn't get Ahmed Johnson and his big black cock versus Undertaker. We got Vader instead.
Yeah.
Triple H and Mankind was probably the best thing on the show, and that was a schmaz that didn't get a finish, so I'll give it a 55.
So here's the other grades of the other shows, if this helps.
Oh, if Sold Out got a 52 and King of the Ring got a 64, we'll give this a 60.
60? Okay.
Yeah,
I'll put that tentatively
Yeah.
Just
I could
to
do,
hold
I
on to
could do
that.
60 because Sold Out should have a 2.
I think maybe I was a bit generous. I mean, I don't know. I think because Sold Out had the fun ladder match and it had like some other stuff, but yeah, all in all, it was a pretty. It was a shit show. I mean, it's the worst show of the year so far. But
Yeah. And Revenge of Taker is right there.
what the fuck happened on Revenge of the What was that so bad?
It's so bad you don't remember why.
Because that wasn't Mankind Undertaker, right? No, that was. But that was like the only good thing from that show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I trust.
Some of those in your house
self.
has just had one good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, kind of like. I mean, the light heavyweight match was fun, but yeah, this is really a one match show ultimately. But it delivered. It was like 40 minutes out of the hour and 40 minutes the show was. So
yeah,
it's important for that to deliver. But you know what always delivers?
Grubhub.
But also you're here, Matt. And appreciate you.
Yeah.
Appreciate you joining Creation World, Smackin It Raw, getting off, all of the wonderful stampeding you do yourself. Yeah. Where can everybody find you, look at you, taste you, and gobble you up until they shit you out and then eat you out and then eat you again?
You guys can follow me on social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at Smackin It Raw. If you're a Twitter person, an X person, my wrestling stuff is all on at Matt Ridders, MATTRIDDER, double D's, not double T's, and no L. And then the horror movie stuff. No, fuck you. Oh. The horror movie stuff is getting off. That is our horror movie show. But everything is under the banner of Creation World. So if you go to youtube.com/Creation World, all of our videos, all of our shorts, everything is there. We are 9 subscribers away from hitting 600. So please go like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And if you hit that notification bell, which we like to call flicking the bean, you'll get notified whenever we go live, because I have just decided that I'm not going to have a schedule anymore. It's either going to be a Saturday or a Sunday. It depends on what happens and what's going on. Like, whenever it happens, it happens. So the only way to know when to catch us live is to flick that bean, hit that notification bell. So go do that. And if you subscribe to my Patreon, I have exclusive waist down photos of Kyle that I will send you. But price is to be determined once you inquire.
Man.
Before and after calf photos.
Yeah. I hope that's at least like the high tier, right? That my lower body is on, right?
It's the highest tier. So like you got to pay for the highest tier, and then you can DM me, and then we'll negotiate a price. But we have before and after calf photos, and there might be a little something extra in there for you.
There's only one way to find out, folks. Yeah. So get over there. I mean, look, man, I think this calls for the really fun episode alarm.
Bird is the word.
Hail Satan. All right. Let me end this. Once again, thank you to Matt from the Smackin It Raw podcast for joining me on this show. Always a good time with Matt. Go check out Smackin It Raw and everything Creation World does wherever you listen to podcasts, as well as YouTube, Twitch, all that stuff. All of this will be in the description. Check it out. Check out my stuff, Discord, yada, yada, yada. Hey, let's go ahead and hit that jingle, Bartholomew. WCW, ECW, WWF. Who's the hardest promotion? Eric or Vince or Paulie? I think we can agree, though. Heck, Myers is the shit. Alrighty then. The hardest promotion battle of 1997 continues. WWF versus WCW versus ECW. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm sharing my screen. You can follow along visually as we talk through this. But if you're listening in audio land, I'll speak into this microphone and describe the things that I'm doing as well. So, but the first thing, actually, let's recap the overall scores once again. WCW in the lead with 29 points, ECW in second with 25, and WWF in third with 4 points. Let's see if we got any changes as a result of Canadian Stampede. First thing we got to do is grade this show. So we did a little So as it's a scale of 0 to 100, as I believe we kind of did at the end of the episode there, just a preliminary score. We were thinking 60 for Canadian Stampede. Let's see if I still agree with that. All right, King of the Ring got a 64. Am I crazy or was this better than King of the Ring? Maybe not. I think it was pretty close though. I think it's closer than 60. I'm thinking maybe like 62, maybe. Final Four got a 60. This is better than Final Four for sure. I'm thinking. I thought this was a pretty good show, to be honest. I'm thinking maybe even like 65. Is that too high? Am I crazy? Am I fucking nuts? I think 65 is fair, dude. Great American Bash got a 71. I think 65 is more than fair. Let's go 65 with this bad boy. So we'll refresh this. So no changes. ECW still has the highest average grade as of right now with 75. WCW with 72. WWF is 63. So we go over to the overall scoreboard. As I mentioned, no change to the highest average score for pay-per-views as ECW maintains those 15 points. Best TV, overall best TV, we are tracking WCW. So the question here is, did WWF do anything to change that? And that's pretty much the logic through all of these. Has WWF turned a corner? Has their TV improved? Maybe. I still think WCW is a tad better just on pure like WWF. There's just a lot of just lollygagging, man. There's just, I don't know. And WCW has it too, but like there's always like threads and stories with everything they do. Whereas WWF has like one or two good stories at a time and everything else is just like, oh, here's the fucking honky tonk man and rockabilly, and here's fucking Buddy Rogers or whoever the hell the light heavyweight guys were, Tommy Rogers and Miss Chokes on Dick or whatever. So I think WCW holds on to best TV for now. Best in-ring. Again, I don't know if WWF did enough here to sway me otherwise. So I think WCW holds on to this for now. Best out of ring. So here's the thing, right? We're getting cooking with this Undertaker Kane stuff. The Heart Foundation stuff is it's good, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily progressed. Maybe a little bit. But we're kind of just an idol there. It's a good idol. It's a good speed. But nothing, blowing me out of the water in between here and last time we looked at this. And like I said, there's just not a lot of other good stuff going on. I mean, Triple H and Mankind is decent. Whereas WCW, I mean, they have the NWO, obviously, but there's a lot of just different branches out of the NWO. But you also have like the Four Horsemen stuff. You got the Cruiserweight stuff. The various celebrities that are coming. Like, they're doing good stuff here. ECW's pretty good here, too. I think ECW is going to have a run for this next time we touch on ECW. But for now, I think WCW holds on to best out of ring as well. So no changes yet. So now we move on to the best section. So we're looking at the best match, wrestler, character, segment, all that stuff. So best match of the year so far. We're tracking Bret Hart versus Stone Cold at WrestleMania 13. Yeah, nothing on here or on the TV leading up to this was better than that. So WWF holds on to those 5 points. Best wrestler of the year, we're tracking Stone Cold. I think he's just as hot as ever, if not more hot. So yeah, we're going to leave it at Stone Cold Steve Austin. I've mentioned him before. It's going to be between him and DDP, I think. Taz is another one. But I think if we're looking at overall characters, his best wrestler of the year, this is like the matches, the character, like the whole package, right? And I think Stone Cold has had a pretty good catalog of matches as well as just the red hot character. And I think just the magnitude is just a little higher than what DDP is putting out at this moment in time, but maybe that'll change. But Stone Cold holds on to this, so WWF maintains those 5 points. Best character / storyline of the year. We're tracking Taz. So we're in the midst of the whole Taz versus the coalition of Jerry Lawler, Bill Alfonso, RVD, and Sabu. And just like how Taz has progressed from this dickhead heel into this almost anti-hero, which we're seeing in all three companies, from Stone Cold and DDP as well. I'd argue Taz was the first, but that's another topic. We'll leave it at Taz for now. Because like just that whole feud and his whole presentation. I don't want to have Stone Cold for both of these. We're just gonna have to, because this Taz right here, it's more like Taz and the whole package of the RVD, Sabu, and all that shit, right? So we'll leave it at that. So ECW maintains those 5 points. Best segment of the year, Jerry Lawler debuting at WrestlePalooza in ECW. Were there any segments on Raw or anything that were better than this? I don't think so. Nothing is really jumping out at me. Stone Cold's him and Shawn had beef, and him and Shamrock had beef. You've had like the Mick Foley vignettes were pretty good. Yeah. The Jerry Lawler thing was just so like bonkers. That's gonna hold strong for now, at least. So ECW keeps those 5 points. So now we move on to the worst. So now we look at all those things, but the worst versions. Worst match of the year, we're tracking Undertaker versus Sid at WrestleMania 13. Yeah. That holds strong. So WWF holds on to those -3 points. Worst wrestler of the year, Prince Iaukea. Haven't seen him in a while. And the longer we don't see him, the less, like the weaker this becomes. Like the more inclined I am to switch him out for something. Who from WWF, I mean, you could throw like Jerry Lawler in there. You could throw like I don't know. Who on Raw have I not liked? You could throw like Phineas, Henry O'Godwin, or no, I think there's not a lot of bad right now. Not a lot of outright bad. I don't think this category is gonna be grabbed by WWF. I think WCW and ECW have more of a more dramatically bad wrestlers. But maybe I'm wrong. That's what this journey's about. So we'll hold Prince Iaukea here, but I don't see him holding on to this for the rest of the year. Worst character / storyline, we're tracking Honky Tonk Man, Billy Gunn, Double J. I don't even know if Jesse James. Well, I guess he is still around because the New Age Outlaws form eventually, right? So, but they're still doing the rockabilly stuff. Yeah, nothing's worse than that, I don't think. Yeah, so WWF holds on to that. Worst segment of the year, Miss NWO. Not even going to think about it at this point. There's nothing that's ever happened that was worse than that. Like in America, like nothing's ever been worse than the Miss NWO segment. So, with that, all that to say, no change. I don't believe, right? No changes to the scores. So WCW still maintains the lead, just barely over ECW. Will WWF make a comeback later in the year? Well, you're just going to have to keep tuning in to find out. And with that, it's about all Daddy has for you guys today. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Love you. Big ol' smooches all over that cute face of yours. I'm hard.
Yeah. And the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. It's the hardest, talk around and disregard it. off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock this. Let's get started.